My next guest, legendary writer, writes all things and effectively, particularly sports. I enjoy his work there. Joe Namath. Out most recently, The Good Son, Ray Mancini. Boom, boom, Ray Mancini. An incredible story. Guy killed a guy in a ring and is an amazing man. And Kriegel put it on paper in an amazing way. Great, great, talented guy. Proud to call him a friend of the show. Mark Kriegel. What's up, buddy?
Thanks, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm good. So let's get right to this because it's just on everybody's mind, and it's almost like we have to talk about it with everybody in the world of sports, and especially a guy like you, a brilliant writer who is great at observing things and talking about those observations. A-Rod, when is this fiasco going to end? What's going to happen if he plays tomorrow at Yankee Stadium, which it looks like he will? His first at bat. How are the fans going to react, or are you on his?
React. If he gets a hit, they'll cheer, and if he doesn't, they'll boo.
But how do they react before, as he walks up when it gets announced?
Probably get some boos. But listen, I'm still searching for, literally and metaphorically, the smoking gun here. I want to know, like the gun that A-Rod put to Hank Steinbrenner's head to sign him to this Fakaka contract.
No, I know you're right.
And you know, A-Rod, to me, like A-Rod, the world's leader, the champion, the home run champion of narcissism. He really is. He's like, I told you this line before. He's like the pool boy at the Delano, all grown up to like blimp size. You know, there's something like completely nuts about him, and everyone's addicted to him. But by the same token, you know, this was Hank Steinbrenner's bargain. This is like a rich kid's. That contract is a rich kid's attempt to make good on his father's legacy. That was Hank Steinbrenner's shot. He was gonna sign A-Rod to this absurd contract, bid against himself, lock up the Yankees for another decade. Because he wanted to do what baseball and baseball owners have been doing for decades, at least since Babe Ruth, which is to profiteer from home runs and the home run record. And then when the end of it turned out that this guy's just as dirty as his predecessors. Remember, the reason that you paid A-Rod, that you gave him this money, is that you were going to profiteer from that record each, 600, 700, 800, however the number got, you were gonna make bank on that number. And he was supposed to be the guy. The irony here, and I guess the shame of it, and where the fans really did get duped, and I got duped too, is in thinking that A-Rod could actually rescue the record from the corrupted Barry Bonds. He was the bad guy. And again, I tell you what, they both, Bonds and A-Rod, have one thing in common. Neither of them tested positive, okay? Nor did Mark McGwire, for that matter. But
right.
But look at the odd position that the baseball establishment finds itself in. The home run record, which is supposed to be the great record in all of American sports.
Yes.
Right? We grew up with that number 714. We grew up with Hank Aaron.
To me, that record is still owned by Hank Aaron. To me, but go ahead.
Okay, right. No, I understand that, but that was the pure record. That was the American feat, the home run, right? Those were the numbers, and Bonds corrupted it. But now, what does McGwire have? He's got a hitting coach job, and seriously, who sanctioned it? Bud Selig.
Right.
And to me, McGwire, we all knew what it was back then. I was writing what it was, that Angel stuff that he was taking. Even football declared it a steroid. Everyone knew what it was, and everyone winked at it because Bud wanted the game to come back, because the game itself was profiteering from this fiasco. When you look at it in retrospect, this fiasco with Bonds and Sosa. Everyone was juiced to the gills, but no one cared, because they were making money. And Hank did the same thing. With Hank, it was a stupider bargain, maybe because he should have known better, because he was bidding against himself. And I'm sorry for yapping on and on, but Basically to me, this was a rich kid's failed attempt at trying to live up to his old man.
Yeah. Well, you're for the plight of Alex Rodriguez and Roger Clemens and these guys, and you're saying, look, they operated within a system that was letting people get away with this for whatever reason.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm trying to point some context to it, why he got this deal and why it's such a damn shame. No, first of all, with Clemens, I couldn't stand it from Jump Street because I thought he was a bully. To me, Clemens, I think we've had this conversation before, Clemens to me reminds me of Tyson. He's a bully. He needs an edge. And to me, his true personality came out when he came to the plate with Piazza, when Piazza came to the plate against him and he lost it. That's my personal prejudice with the guy. I never thought that much of him. He was a great pitcher, but I think he always needed an edge. He's like a bully in a fight, and once you stood up to him, which Piazza did, he had to do something else. As far as A-Rod and Clemens are concerned, I don't have any sympathy for them either because they were of a generation when they should have known better. In other words, a lot of their success came after the initial wave of cheating. Some of it, certainly in the case of A-Rod, a lot of his cheating was post-Bonds. So I don't know. I don't have any sympathy for him. I find him to be a fascinating figure. I find that Hank is like the sort of the unspoken, interesting guy in this play. But I don't have any sympathy for him. I do find him compelling. I mean, when I started as a young reporter, there were about a half a dozen people. When I was at the New York Post, there were half a dozen people you couldn't lay off of. You just couldn't get enough of. You mentioned it, and the editors started to go into like adrenaline shock. There was Madonna, Michael Jackson, Gotti. It was like Leona Helmsley for an hour, and Teddy Kennedy. And whenever you mentioned one of those people, they would just go, like the editors would start to like quiver.
This was at the Daily News?
It was so high.
This was at the Daily News?
This was at the Post.
Well, the Post, Alec Baldwin, too, you guys loved bad.
Right, but what I'm saying is there were certain figures that resonated in such a way. Whatever the hell you put out about them, you knew it was going to get, people were going to buy the paper, or in today's world, they were going to click on. Today, it's LeBron, it's A-Rod, it's Tiger. You can't. No one can lay off the fastball on any of those guys, and I don't. It's like A-Rod in a certain way is too much of a goof to really, really hate. Like, Bonds made it easy for you to hate him, and he was also, I think, a much more fundamentally honest guy. He didn't want to be liked. He didn't care. I don't care if you like me. The hell with you. A-Rod's this confused, stupid kid. He wants to be liked. He's always looking in the mirror. I mean, listen, who the hell comes to New York your first week, takes up your shirt in Central Park? Really, who the hell does that?
I did it. Me and Machete did it. No, I mean, listen, I get what you're saying, but I think he's just a hateable guy who's done hateable things. I think he's the epitome of selfish and arrogance, really arrogant, and not caring about the press, or I don't know. People say behind the scenes he does great stuff, but he just seems so unapproachable.
Oh, he doesn't do it. It's all for show. His whole world is for show. He doesn't know who to. I mean, listen, I know I'm being like a closet shrink here, but he doesn't know who the hell he is.
He never knew his father.
I agree with you.
He never knew his father.
I just find it hard to really get up enough steam to hate the kid, because to me. And I'm not a Yankee fan like you are. Maybe I used to be, but he's just such a goof. Right. Like, to me, he's done enormous damage to the Yankees, but he also won them the World Series, by the way. But he's a goof.
No, he didn't win the World. He batted .250 in that World Series. He had a good postseason. They would have won it.
He had a good postseason.
They would have won it without him. He had .250 in the World Series.
In the World Series, but he
did better than he normally does. But what does that say?
He got him there. He did a bit.
He was out the
getting him
first
there.
2 months of the season. All right, whatever. I listen. I understand everything you're saying, but I just I'm tired of it now. I'm tired of
to
it.
give the guy a pass because he should have known better. But I mean, I'll tell you who I consider like evil. Is that goddamn bike racer, Lance Armstrong?
Oh,
you know
okay. Well, yeah,
I think of him as evil because first of all, another guy. He's a bully. He's going to go sue the little people and beat on the little people. And then when it comes time for him to have his confessional interview, then he's pure, right? But you know what this guy did? It's really despicable to me, and this is a whole different level from A-Rod. He made everybody complicit in the narrative of his cancer and his heroism by buying those stupid yellow wristbands. And he exploited everyone's best feeling, like, okay, we're going to beat cancer, we're going to do this, we're all going to buy Lance Armstrong's yellow band. Now, maybe it did some good, and I hope to God that it did. But A-Rod's not devious enough or evil enough to think of something like that.
No, I agree with it. No, a lot of people, a lot of writers we have on here, they all put Armstrong in his own league of dirtbagginess. Absolutely. But I just, forget being a Yankee fan, as a baseball fan, I want this to go away. I want this to go away. Enough already. Let's just get it to be a clean sport.
Artie, how can it go away when the sacrosanct record is corrupted? And how can it go away when you vilify A-Rod, but Mark McGwire, it's okay, he's got a hitting coach job. He's a goddamn hitting coach.
Right. Well, he was a good hitter. He was a good hitter before and after. He had 49 homers his first season.
But listen, you want to go to baseball cheating? He's a ground zero.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, let's move on because again, it's. I appreciate your
sorry,
opinion. No. I'm telling you, it's something you can talk about forever. Michael Vick, Riley Cooper, Eagles back to normal. What do you think of that situation?
I don't think they're back to normal. I don't think they're going to be back to normal for quite some time. I don't think they're going to have a normal season. I mean, the one thing we've talked about this before, how much you can't stand Michael Vick. I respect your right to not be able to stand Michael Vick, but I think that he was more of a mensch this past week or so than I've seen in sports for a long time. Now, I'm not comparing racism to animal cruelty or what, but I do think on the subject of real forgiveness, not BS forgiveness, not rhetorical forgiveness, but real forgiveness, I do think on that subject the guy is actually qualified to speak because, like Riley Cooper, he knows what it's like to have an entire nation say, you suck, you have always sucked, you have always thought this way, and you are beyond redemption.
Right.
And in that respect, he is qualified to speak. Whether you believe that Michael Vick is a con or not, or whatever you think of Riley Cooper, I thought that him saying, hey, the guy's my friend, I know him, I thought that was a really stand-up thing. I thought it was a real courageous thing to do. Whether it was popular, whether it was right, that's another thing. I respect Shady McCoy, who says, I can't respect this guy anymore. Okay, yeah. That's your deal. I get it. I understand. But I respect Michael Vick even more.
Right. John?
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. Well, what do you think about the Manziel thing? Speaking of selfishness, do you have any inside scoop on whether he did or didn't, and your take on that whole scenario?
There's a pretty clear pattern of behavior. I mean, it's not like one incident dropped from the sky.
Yeah.
There's only so many times you could say, oh, the kid, he's a young kid. So, stuff keeps happening. You get a pretty clear, consistent pattern of behavior. We had a guy who wrote a biography, wrote a biography of him for HarperCollins. We had him on the show this morning. Well, yesterday morning, whatever the hell, I forget, I lose track of time.
Yeah.
And I asked him, this latest incident where he's accused of selling his autograph, is it consistent with what you know about Johnny Manziel? And he said, yeah. So I'll accept that. The one thing that bothers me the most would bother is that he's a well-to-do kid. You know, his folks have money in the oil business. If he were a poor kid struggling to get by, I really wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd be all for it. Listen, exploit the NCAA because they're just going to hustle you in a video game or your jersey or whatever the hell. Good, take all the money you can. But he is a much less sympathetic figure because the kid does have some bread.
Right.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it comes from it, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a different, in terms of the perception of him, that's different. Oh, none of this will matter. None of this will matter. The only thing that will matter, 6 months from now, is whether he can play quarterback. And I still think he's a little bit too small. But who knows?
Well, I mean, is those who say that Russell Wilson kind of set the stage for him that to possibly have more of an opportunity to play in the NFL. I agree with that, but I don't think he's got the skill set to make a dent in the league.
Right.
What do you think?
I think that it goes back farther than that, the prejudice against shorter quarterbacks. I think Doug Flutie got hosed. He should have gotten a much better opportunity than he did. And when he did, he rose to the occasion. I don't think he is as physically robust, thick as Russell Wilson. I'm not sure he's as tough a kid as Russell Wilson or as seasoned. Russell Wilson played for 2 colleges. He had been around. I think that he was a baseball prospect too.
No, he played pro baseball. He was in the Rockies organization for an off season.
I mean, Russell Wilson. The one thing that's consistent about Russell Wilson is everyone said he was a leader, and I don't mean that like in the PR sense. It was something that he was a take charge guy. It came through.
Yeah.
No one ever questioned his authority, and I think that
decision making.
Yeah, but there's a process of natural selection here. Like he's a 3rd round pick. For him to have made it, after they paid a quarterback and Matt Flynn basically to be their starter last year, shows how tough he is under pressure. I think you were just beginning to see in the Falcons game in the playoffs how good he could be. I think that was his first 300-yard game. Pete Carroll doesn't believe in letting the quarterbacks, throw the ball up and down the field. Also, he had no receivers, and without Percy Harvin, he still doesn't. So Johnny Manziel, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could be one of these kids who was very entertaining to watch in college, but so was Doug Flutie. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Does he have whatever else it takes? I don't know. I wouldn't be terribly encouraged by the last whatever.
It depends on how tough you are physically. Flutie was a tough guy, and he played for a while in the NFL because he was tough and he could take a hit. And I think this kid is cocky, but in a good way. I think he's got a swagger to him that's attitude.
You want
and I think he can,
to some degree in a quarterback, but you don't want the arrogance.
I think he can back it up, though. The arrogant, again, that word arrogant, that's a worse word.
Joe Namath.
Yeah. You're right.
Never heard. I mean, he was. Joe Namath was in trouble in college at Alabama. Just that, it didn't become a national story in the same way. Now, does this kid have the athletic ability that Joe Namath had? No. Even though it was a different game, Namath, even despite hurting his knees, was an extraordinary athlete in college. So I don't know.
Well, I think
a better athlete than Manziel. See, this is something that I'm not aware of. Like Namath in college. I mean, I know he went to Alabama, but not like you. I don't know the story like you do.
We gotta wrap up. But
Namath was like dunking backwards when guys weren't dunking forwards.
No, he was unbelievable. But and wrapping up, I do think in referring to the media in these stories, I think that eventually they're going to eat each other. These stories, in the sense that. There's so many of them with the 24-hour news cycle and sports. There's so many stories, scandal after story. Every 2 days, there's another thing they call a scandal. That word scandal is thrown around so often now, it's going to be meaningless after a while. And
No, I don't
unless
think
you
so. I don't think so.
unless you kill somebody, it's not going to mean much because it seems like everybody's getting in trouble for
Hey,
something.
listen, but guys are killing people according to the.
Well, that's what I mean. So I think the guys killing people will be in trouble, but a guy like Manziel will be fine. Manziel can skate through it a couple of mouthing off at a party.
I'll say it real quick. There's no more line between sports and the rest of American popular culture. I'm serious. It's the same thing.
I agree with you. There are celebrities, sports guys, or like movie stars. It's all celebrity. It's not sports, movie star, actor anymore. It's all just they're all celebrities and they're treated as such.
Maybe for next time, the one thing that's I don't know if I can't say intriguing, but the one thing that makes me think with this Riley Cooper, and I can parse it either way, is that when he says it, he's lit up. Now the question is, when you're lit up like that, is it a window on your soul? Is that what you're truly thinking? Mm-hmm. Or are you someone else because you're lit up? I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that comment's kind of rough. All right, we got to go. Mark, anything to plug real quick? Just NFL AM or?
NFL AM, I got a piece on Steven Jackson coming out next week, the most unappreciated player of the 21st century, and the movie opens in theaters tomorrow night.
Oh, cool. I got to go check that out. What's the name of the film?
The Good Son, brother.
The Good Son. Check that out. I can't wait to see that. All right. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Mark Kriegel, the Artie Lange Show after this.